morning. I'll call to order the Arapahoe County Public Meeting, December 12th, 2017. And to my left is Ron Carl, County Attorney, and to my right is Jolene Sanchez, Assistant Clerk to the Board. Ms. Sanchez, would you call the roll of the Board, please?
Commissioner Jackson? Here. Commissioner Holland?
Here.
Commissioner Conti?
Good morning.
Good morning. Commissioner Baker?
Here.
And Commissioner Sharp?
Here. Commissioner Conti, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Carl, are there any modifications to the agenda this morning?
There are no modifications.
Thank you. I'll ask for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Conti, seconded by Commissioner Holland. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We have one set of minutes, public meeting minutes for November 21st. We had a full board. Entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I move approval.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Holland, seconded by Commissioner Baker. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. This is I'll open the citizen comment period. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on anything that is not on the agenda this morning? Okay. Seeing no one, we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Baker, seconded by Commissioner Holland. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We have, let me turn over here. We have several items today on our agenda, and the first is our public hearing adoption of the budget appropriation and certification of mill levies for fiscal year 2018. And our presenter is Mr. Todd Weaver, Budget Manager, Finance, and our attorney is Mr. John Christofferson, Deputy County Attorney. Mr. Christofferson, would you set the foundation, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is for items 7A and 7B. That pursuant to state statute, the county, the Arapahoe Law Enforcement Authority, the Arapahoe County Recreation District, and the Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District are required to adopt its annual budget by December 15th each year, only after published notice of the budgets and after a public hearing. The record should reflect that notice of the proposed 2018 budgets was published in the October 19th, 2017 edition of the Villager newspaper. The board held a public hearing on October 24th, 2017 that was continued until today. Therefore, the board is, and acting as the ex officio board of the Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District, has jurisdiction to consider these 2018 budgets.
Thank you, Mr. Christofferson. Mr. Weaver.
Good morning, Board. I've prepared a very brief summary of what is included in the resolutions before you this morning. The resolutions you have on the dais are slightly modified from what was included in the electronic packet. Subsequent to submitting those resolutions in your packet, we received the final certification from the assessor's office and made minor modifications to the property tax collections and mill levies that are reflected in the paper copy you have before you. Obviously, today we are going to be adopting the budget for Arapahoe County, the Law Enforcement Authority, the Recreation District, and the Water and Wastewater and Public Improvement District. The budgets before you are balanced and in conformance with Colorado law, including the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. The general fund operating budget is structurally balanced per the county's financial policy regarding the budget preparation and control. And per Colorado government budget law, the budget must be adopted and mill levy certified prior to December 15th each year. And that died. So I'll give you a quick synopsis of what is included in there as far as the numbers are concerned. The total revenues across all funds are $378.2 million. That's a 5.4% increase over last year's total revenues. Across all funds on the expenditure side, it is $390.1 million. That is a 6.5% increase from 2017. When drilling down into the general fund for 2018, we're looking at $179.6 million. And that is a 4.9% increase over 2017's adopted budget. When you pull out the one-time revenues, the total revenues are $178.9 million. On the expense side for the general fund, total $189.3 million in expenses. The operating budget, $177.3 million. This total staffing for 2018 will be 2,130.4 FTEs. That is up 41.25 FTEs from 2017. It's important to note that there was the addition of 23 additional FTEs that are included in that total at the third quarter budget review for the Human Services Department. Isolating on the general fund, total staffing will be 1,259.65 FTEs. That is up 18.25 FTEs over 2017. The 2018 estimated ending general fund balance will be $42.4 million. That includes a $9.6 million use of that fund balance in the 2018 budget for primarily one-time uses such as election costs and capital improvement projects. Total county mill levy for 2018 for 2017 taxes will be 12.817 mills. That is below the maximum levy of 15.821. There is a temporary tax credit of 3.072 mills and a small tabor refund of 0.027 mills. I didn't do it.
That's the
Capital improvement budget
plane.
is $13.5 million.
We do not have an airplane in Arapahoe County.
don't.
Trust me.
It's not funded in the 2018 budget, but if it was, that would be awesome. The general fund operating budget, I said, is structurally balanced. It doesn't seem that way when you have $189 million in expenses offset by $179 million in revenues. But when you take out those one-time items for capital projects and the elections, we've got a budget that is structurally balanced with a $1.6 million surplus. You may remember at the recommended budget presentation that surplus was $1.7 million. With some of the changes that occurred since then, recalculation of payroll, the additional information we got on the property tax certification, that surplus is now down to $1.6 million for an operating basis in the general fund. Across other funds, the social services fund, there's a total revenue budget of $58.7 million offset by an expenditure budget of $59.6 million in expenses. That'll result in about a $900,000 drawdown of that fund balance, still leaving them about $6.8 million above the reserve for 2018. The Law Enforcement Authority Fund, just under $8 million in revenue and just over $8.6 million in expense. That results in about a $700,000 or $800,000 use of fund balance, with the majority of that $500,000 being one-time uses, not only for equipment for patrol officers that were added during 2018's budget process, but also for about $350,000 in equipment for the new regional crime lab. The Road and Bridge Fund, there were some adjustments made on the revenue side for the Road and Bridge Fund this year. $16.2 million in revenue is offset by $16.3 million in expense. That'll keep their fund balance at about $3.5 million by the end of 2018, or about $800,000 or $900,000 above the policy reserve limit. Capital Expenditure Fund, $13.5 million in projects, offset by $13.5 million in revenue. About $8.7 million of that revenue transferred from the general fund. The Recreation District has a $1.2 million budget, and the Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement Authority will be paying off their bonds with $9.4 million in their budget for 2018. As I said, the mill levy for the county, $12.817 for 2018 for 2017 taxes. That's based on a $2.3 billion assessed value. That is up 15% over 2017. The one mill for the Development of Disabilities will generate $10.2 million in revenue. The ALEA fund, a levy of 4.982, will generate $6.7 million of revenue. For the Rec District, 0.708 will generate just under $1 million in revenue. And for the Public Improvement District for the Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Authority, the mill levy will drop to just under 15 mills and generate $7.7 million for the repayment of that debt. So with that, without my AV, that is the end of my summary of what's included in the 2018 budget. I'd like to thank all the elected officials and department directors who assisted in putting together the 2018 budget, and a special thanks to my staff and the Executive Budget Committee who spent a lot of time reviewing all the budget requests and putting together the budget that's before you today. So with that, I will stop talking, and if you have any questions or concerns, I'd be more than happy to address those at this time.
Questions? Okay. I'd like to add thank you to you, to all your staff. Great work, and being a member of the Executive Budget Committee, know how much work goes into preparing and meeting and working with all the departments to get to this point in the year. So thank you very much to everyone. Really appreciate it. So I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on the budget? Any of the, there are several law enforcement, Arapahoe County budget, Arapahoe County Law Enforcement Authority, Arapahoe County Rec District, Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District. Is there anyone who would like to speak on any of those districts or the budget for any of those? Okay. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and I will ask for, we'll take these motions, I think you have them on the dais separately. But let's see, I think that's right. We'll take these motions. So motion number 1 is to approve the Arapahoe County, let's see, motions for proposed motions to adopt the budget, certify the mill levies, and appropriate funds for spending. And they're very numerous, so we've have 5 proposed amendments to adopt, certify the mill levies, and appropriate funds as a group for each authority. And so I'll ask for a motion on number 1, which is Arapahoe County. Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you. As a member of the Executive Budget Committee, I too want to add my kudos and thanks for this budget in recognizing how difficult it is to balance all the needs of the county and the funding that we have. So, motion number 1, I move to. We're not going to do this motion number 1. You don't want to do this one. Adopting all 7.
Yeah.
Motion number 1 is adopting 7 resolutions.
Yes, it is. We've set them into the groups rather than doing the 7 different ones, which would do each individual fund.
So I can just make this motion, and this takes care of
that takes care of Arapahoe County in that first one. Yes.
Okay. Just want to be clear.
For each authority, you'll be adopting the budget, certifying the levies, and for the county, there's a levy for the general fund, road and bridge fund,
Got it.
fund, and social services.
Thank
fund,
you.
And a motion, the final resolutions to appropriate those funds.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure this out. Okay, that being said, I move to adopt the 7 resolutions approving and adopting the 2018 budget, certifying the mill levies and appropriating the funds for Arapahoe County.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Holan. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none. Motion passes unanimously. So we'll take motion number 2, Arapahoe Law Enforcement Agency. Commissioner Baker.
I move to adopt the 3 resolutions approving and adopting the 2018 budget, certifying the mill levy, and appropriating funds for Arapahoe Law Enforcement Authority.
Motion made by Commissioner Baker, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Motion number 3, Arapahoe County Recreation District. Commissioner Conti.
I move to adopt the 3 resolutions approving and adopting the 2018 budget, certifying the mill levy and appropriating funds for Arapahoe County Recreation District.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Conti, seconded by Commissioner Baker. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Motion number 4 is Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District. Commissioner Holan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Acting as the ex officio board member of the district, I move to adopt the 3 resolutions approving and adopting the 2018 budget, certifying the mill levy and appropriating funds for Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Holan, seconded by Commissioner Baker. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Motion number 5 is authorize the chair to sign the 2018 certification of levy forms. Commissioner Jackson.
Exactly. I move to adopt the resolution authorizing the chair to sign the 2018 certification of tax levy forms.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Holan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We don't know what we need to do on
A.
A. Okay. So now we've got B, which is certification of tax levies for cities, towns, schools, districts, and special districts for fiscal year 2018. Mr. Christopherson.
We have proper foundation for this one to move forward as well.
Okay. Mr. Weaver.
Again, pursuant to statute, the Board of County Commissioners is required to certify the mill levies of cities and towns, school districts, and special districts to the state of Colorado each year. They are required to submit those certification of tax levies by December 15th of each year. We were required to turn around and certify those levies back to the state of Colorado by December 22nd of each year. Before you is 3 resolutions that will be filled in once we hit that deadline of December 15th and have all these certified tax levy forms for the more than 400 districts that are within Arapahoe County, of which 32 of those are tax increment financing districts, 9 school districts, and 13 towns and cities and towns. So once we have that information, we'll fill in those resolutions and have the chair of the Board of County Commissioners sign that report to the state. So if there are any questions on this process, I'd be happy to answer those this time.
Questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Conti.
I was just going to.
I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this issue, and that's certification of tax levies, cities, towns, school districts, and special districts for fiscal year 2018? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Conti.
I move to adopt the 3 resolutions to certify the tax levies for the cities, towns, school districts, and special districts within Arapahoe County for fiscal year 2018, pursuant to 39-1-111 and 39-5-128 Colorado Revised Statute.
Second. Motion made by Commissioner Conti, seconded by Commissioner Baker. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, and thanks again for all the hard work. It's nice to get to this point. Okay, our next item is a public hearing, N17-001, Olympic Medal Street Name Change. And our presenter is Mr. Bill Skinner, Planner, Public Works and Development. And our attorney is Mr. Robert Hill, Senior Assistant County Attorney. Mr. Hill, is there a foundation on this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This street name change request has been noticed by publication in the newspaper, by mailing to adjacent properties, and posting of the property. The board has jurisdiction to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Mr. Skinner.
Hey, Bill Skinner for the Planning Division. N17001 is being brought forward by Bill Lawrence on behalf of Greg Gibb, who is associated with Olympic Medals. The county staff doesn't see street name change requests very often, and as you may have gathered from the board summary report and the materials I sent through last night, it's a bit of a unique situation. The county staff follows direction provided by a board in 1985 when they provided a resolution that says the authority to establish and assign street names is handed over from the board to the mapping division in Public Works, and then the county staff is to try and ensure that street names are part of the larger Denver Unified Grid System. Staff, therefore, recommends denial on these applications, as we should, per that 1985 direction. The Planning Commission follows along with that, not exclusively, but traditionally. And in this case, our Planning Commission hearing for this was just 1 week back on Tuesday. So passing on their recommendation, they made a motion. A motion was moved for denial. That passed 4-2. So just to clarify, the motion was to recommend denial 4-2. So 2 motions for denial on that. And here's where it gets interesting. So I can follow the case history back on 4 specific examples. One being Adam Aircraft Circle, which followed the same process, but when it came to the board, was approved by that board at that time. That would be 2005. None of you were here, I understand. We had one in 2007 for Digicom, a company that was hoping to relocate. They took a small piece of the East Nichols alignment, and that was named East Digicom Drive. And they built a very large office warehouse distribution facility there. That was 2007. I believe it was 2009 when the Broncos relocated the training center onto East Dry Creek Road. The section of East Dry Creek Road that traverses from the west side to the east side of Dove Valley Business Park was renamed East Broncos Parkway. Similar situation with recommendations from PC and staff, but motion to approve from that board at that time. We have policies, but we also seem to have established some traditions. All three of those that I've mentioned occurred in Dove Valley Business Park. Today's request is for 715 feet of a dead-end cul-de-sac on the East Nichols Place alignment. That's how it's shown today. It serves the back entry of 5 parcels. None of those parcels will be taking their address from this East Nichols Place Road. The proposal is to rename that to East William Gibb Place. When staff looked at previous proposals and weighed out the impacts to the public, considered public comment, considered the level of discussion that happened with the various businesses already established on those previous cases, we really thought this one came through as, well, we are sticking to the course provided. We do recommend denial. I have to say the impacts from this proposed renaming are negligible. We've reached out to the owners of the properties it will impact. We've reached out to City of Centennial. They're, about a half a mile away from this at best, and got a response from them. They recommend going by the grid, but they themselves will occasionally rename a street off the grid. The Valley Business Park is fine with it. Fire and the sheriff's office, who they used to use maps and street signs to navigate to emergencies. They don't do that anymore. They had no objection. Sheriff wanted to make sure it was properly documented in all our databases. So I guess what staff is bringing you right now is a recommendation for denial with a caveat that we're somewhat required to do that, but when we did a practical analysis of this, we didn't see any problems with the proposal. I think that's all I've got for you. We do have both the applicant and a representative from Olympic Metals here to talk about it. I do recommend we certainly hear from the Olympic Metals applicant. His explanation at the Planning Commission was extremely well delivered, and I'd like you to hear that as well.
Okay. Questions? Okay. Let's bring the representative from Olympic Metals.
Okay, we'll start with Bill Lawrence, and then Greg Gibb, I assume, will come up as well.
I'm Bill Lawrence with the developer at 4643 Ulster Street, and with me is Greg Gibb. Is the founder, is the son of the founder of Olympic Metals, and he'll come up and speak a little later. We have acquired from Dove Valley 9.8 acres, and we are in the process now of building an office warehouse of in excess of 64,000 square feet. We will immediately bring in 25 employees, which will grow to 40 employees within 3 years. We also are a contributor to the sales tax as well as real estate tax. The address of the building is 7956 South Potomac Street. It's our desire to rename East Nichols Place to William Gibb Place. And this is being requested in honor of the father, who founded this company over 40 years ago. It's my understanding that The only objections that we have received has been that it does not meet the Denver metropolitan area grid system. And that's the only objection that we have received. We request this name change based on the fact that this is a cul-de-sac that dead ends 715 feet long. No addresses are off the cul-de-sac at all. Olympic Metals will be utilizing this cul-de-sac for truck traffic into the building for the majority of the region. And only 5 lots are affected by this rear entry of the cul-de-sac. This is not a request from a business, but a request from an individual that we name in honor of the founding father. In reading of the staff report, it says it does not meet the standards, but we are requesting a waiver, if you will. You've done this in the past, and with that, I would like to bring up Greg Gibbs.
Good morning. If you just state your name and address for the record.
Absolutely. Good morning. My name is Greg Gibb. Address is 10349 Aaron Place in Lone Tree, 80124. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for considering our proposal, and thank you, Bill Skinner and Bill Lawrence, for kind of presenting our case a little bit to you. It was mentioned a couple times that this is in honor of my father. I think more importantly, it's in honor of an icon in our industry. The metals service distribution industry, serving aerospace and manufacturing. We've been here for over 40 years in the Denver metro area. I have the privilege of currently being the president of the board of the Metal Service Center industry for our entire region, 3-state region. I go to many events, talk to many people that have been in this business for a long time, and it's very humbling and flattering to talk about my father a lot. He is an icon in our industry. Moving the business from Adams County and Commerce City, where we've been for the last 30 years, out to Arapahoe County, has kind of given us some different opportunities. Some are awesome. Some come with a little bit of hesitation. Change is always good, but it's change. We thought this was a great opportunity to honor an icon in our industry. Sure, he's my father, but that, again, is not the main reason. It's just a simple way with zero consequence, zero impact on any of our neighbors. And as I understand it, no objections have come from anybody for this. No street signs are even up at this point, and since it's a cul-de-sac, the change is minimal. With that said, I guess if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but that's kind of our case.
Questions? Commissioner Baker.
Mr. Gibb, I don't mean to offend you. Is your father still living?
No, he's not. He passed away just about 11 years ago.
Okay. Thank you.
In fact, when we sold the business, if it's of relevance, we sold the business in 2002 to Reliance Steel and Aluminum. They're a Fortune 400 company headquartered in Los Angeles, but with facilities all over the world. He was actually in the position to sell at that point because of failing health. So he had a myriad of odd diseases that took his life at 65.
Thank you.
Commissioner Conti.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You've talked in terms of the fact that your father was extraordinary. Would you care to elaborate on exactly what were the qualities or characteristics or accomplishments that made him extraordinary?
Well, I guess there are many. In his personal life, he was president of the Aurora JCs for many years. He was always in the community, whether it was coaching, leading different organizations, trade organizations within our industry. Obviously, I'm a little partial to him personally, as how great I think he was. But what gets me, again, is when I go to meetings and I talk with people from all over the regions that have been in this business for 40, 50 years or more, just the impact that he has had on their lives, whether they have worked for him, with him, on boards, things like that, over his career.
I just had one question, and that really is about, considering that we have all of these databases that that help us find locations. And I know from a number of other street name changes and that kind of thing, sometimes that how those are changed in MapQuest and Google Maps and all the others can be complicated, and sometimes it's hard to get those systems updated. So are you, my question really is, do you have any concerns about people not being able to, your customers or people, truck traffic, coming there to your building with finding the location?
Not really, because our address is off of Potomac. So this is just a cul-de-sac that shoots off of Potomac. It's, I believe it was originally in the plan, however many years ago, to be a through street. After we bought our lot and we started construction, et cetera, that was amended or changed to just a cul-de-sac. So there's no addresses or businesses that take their addresses off of that street. So again, I'm kind of going, I don't maybe understand all of it, but I don't see a big concept.
So if somebody puts in MapQuest,
it wouldn't be for
the address, it would come up this new street name.
Well, there isn't an address with this street name. It is all off of Potomac. So our address is on Potomac Street.
Okay.
And the 5 businesses, including
so maybe I just misunderstood here. So your address, the street address is Potomac.
Correct.
But the cul-de-sac.
The cul-de-sac is basically an alleyway, maybe is how I would describe it.
Okay.
It originally was
maybe that
designed
clarifies.
To be a and then cut off. So it's basically a back entrance to 5 businesses. But none will take their address from this street.
Okay, because there have been street name changes where the business actually used that name change for the street as their address. So, yeah, I guess I just misunderstood what address y'all were using. So.
Bill Skinner for the Planning Division again. Put up the exhibit.
Yeah.
So the East Nickel Place is highlighted in yellow there. The properties north, south, thank you, north and south of that cul-de-sac, East Nichols Place, East William Gibb Place, whichever, it's the back door for those.
Yeah.
Their front doors are off the other streets. That's
right. I just was thinking that your company was using this address. So, okay. Thank you. That clarifies a lot for me. So, okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Conti, did you have a question?
Maybe just a point of clarification to make sure I'm getting this. So basically what we're talking about, Mr. Skinner, is that this is simply like a delivery alley. This is place where delivery trucks are going to come in to deliver to the back doors of businesses. Is that correct?
It's possible. We don't even know what the business will be. One of the lots south we have no proposals on. One of the lots north is very, very early stages. Were they going to recommend, were they going to tell someone how to bring a delivery? I assume they would send them to the building street address and then say, go around back. I don't know that the name East Nickel Place will ever show up on anyone's instructions or literature for these properties.
Or therefore this potential change street.
Or potentially the new name.
Okay.
Okay. So no future businesses, because not all of this area is developed out in Dove Valley. So any of the lot, it's a little hard to see there, but the lot configurations, they're going to all take their street address not off of this Nichols Place or whatever it happens to be.
That is correct.
Okay. In the future, now or in the future?
One, certainly, now were they to be addressed, they'd take off the other, and in the future, I have to assume so. I spoke with Greg Hine in mapping about how he would address this as they come through, and he says, yes, no doubt, they will be taking their addresses off of Otero to the south, Chambers to the north, or Potomac to the west.
Okay.
And I personally just can't fathom why a business would want to take their address off of Minor Street when they have a major mapped street on the other side. They're going to want to turn their best face out as opposed to turn their best.
Right.
Well, in fact, staff would recommend they turn their best face out
Right.
and their back in.
I'm just wondering if anything else is going to come off this cul-de-sac that is not shown there. So I just want to make sure that we don't do anything that if one of these lots changes or is sold in the future, that now they're in a position of people can't find their business because the street name has changed.
Right. I understand.
And they're not using a major street.
Right.
That's my concern.
Yep, it's a valid concern. We don't have any indication that those lots are going to subdivide down any farther and create a property that has access to nothing other than the cul-de-sac.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Baker.
Mr. Skinner, I guess this question is for you. East Nichols Place, the current name, was given to this particular cul-de-sac because it's on the Denver Metro Street grid, not in honor of anyone else named Nichols, specifically in Arapahoe County, City of Centennial, or anything like that. Is that correct?
As I understand it, two answers. Yes, if you go east and west, generally across the metro area, you will find bits and pieces of what would be Nichols, depending east or west. Place, drive, street, whatever, that'll depend on the configuration. Unlike streets like Arapahoe or Bellevue, it's not a major thoroughfare. It seems to exist only in isolated segments. So as far as we know, that name is part of the original plan. It goes back a long time, and I do not believe it's named after anyone in recent memory, though I'm sure we could look it up and find out who it was named after.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you. Pardon me. I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this issue? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion, because I don't have it up here. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion? Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you. I would, because my father, too, had a small business that he took from a very, very small business and made it into something that only his clients and customers and the folks in that particular industry would recognize, but he, too, was admired. So I understand. Unfortunately, my father's business was on a street called Walnut, which we couldn't change. So we didn't get to do that. But so because of that, I am going to move in the case of N17-001 Olympic Metals Street name change, that I have reviewed the staff report, including all exhibits and attachments, and have listened to the applicant's presentation and any public comment as presented at the hearing, and hereby move to approve this application based on the findings in the staff report, subject to the following findings. I will also add that, we don't make exceptions very often, but I think in this case it will work here. So the finding is this street name change request does not appear to have substantial impacts to surrounding properties. This street name change request only affects 715 feet of a dead-end cul-de-sac and will not affect through traffic. And as I said before, I am happy to make this motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Conti. Any comments? Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. I will say that I do have a lot of concerns over changing street names, and I appreciate the fact that it's, it has a lot of personal meaning, but I really don't want to set any precedents. I know that we have one street name that was changed after to support a business out there, and the business is no longer in business. So, but the street name remains. So I I have a lot of concerns, and for me personally, it's not a precedent that I want to set, and I am concerned that something comes on in the future in this cul-de-sac, and somebody backs up to this, uses this address as a cul-de-sac. I think it's going to be hard to find. So anyway, but thank you, and good luck. Glad to have you in Arapahoe County. Appreciate it. Okay, we will move on to our next, which is public hearing, Silver Creek Sporting Club USR U17-004. And our presenter is Molly Orkild Larson, Senior Planner, Public Works and Development. And our attorney is Mr. Robert Hill, Senior Assistant County Attorney. Mr. Hill, would you set the foundation, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This use by special review application has been noticed by publication, mailing, and posting of the property. The board has jurisdiction to proceed.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Molly Orkild Larson, Senior Planner with the Public Works Department. I have been approached by the applicant's representative, Paul Howell, that would like to make an announcement, and I'll bring him up.
Okay. Good morning. If you just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Paul Howell, and I am the agent representative for the applicant. We have a statement, and that is that in light of the last-minute major conditions imposed upon the applicant at 6 p.m. yesterday evening by the county's engineering department, that the applicant has no choice but to request a continuance of this matter until at least January 16, 2018, so that the additional requirements and costs of widening County Road 30 can be properly evaluated.
Okay. So it was the road widening that was the issue?
About this, we thought everything was okay, but last night at 6 o'clock we were told we had to widen the road. We don't know how long, how wide, what the cost is going to be, and obviously as part of the project we need to know that before we can move forward.
Okay. You think, Mr. Hill, so this is continuance until January 6th, meeting January 16th?
Yes, if the board's inclined to continue it, we would need to continue it to a time date certain. The board's choosing.
My only question is really that I'm assuming, and based on this list, we have a lot of folks here who would like to testify, and I'm not sure that widening the road, I guess the only thing would make a big difference on whether they are supporting or not supporting this application. But I guess the question is, depending upon the cost, would your application be withdrawn if the cost is too high? Is that part of what your evaluation is?
The applicant has funding, bank funding for this project in the budget. This additional cost, we don't know. It could be another $100,000. We don't know.
Okay.
Once that's considered, then we'll make that decision.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Conti.
Thank you. I'm just curious if someone knows or can share with the board who imposed this last-minute 6 p.m. last night requirement specifically?
Ms. Orkild Larson.
I can have the engineering department come up and give you further detail.
Okay.
Mr. Haskins.
Good morning.
Board Chuck Haskins, Engineering Division. I guess I'm responsible for that. My apologies to the applicant, but we received some public comment that the roadway was inadequate. And so we sent the staff member out to measure and evaluate the condition of the road. The road currently serves one house. Doesn't require a lot of maintenance. And it meets the standards at the intersection of 181 and as you go further west towards the subject property, the road narrows to 15 feet, which we don't take lightly, bringing up issues at the last hour, but we have some major safety and emergency services concerns with getting emergency services vehicles on a road that's less than 2 lanes, especially when they're going to be firing weapons. So we did not receive any objection from Byers Fire, so I'm not sure they are aware of it either. I don't believe the cost is $100,000, but we'll be happy to meet with the applicant to see what it would take to widen the road to at least allow for 2-way traffic. So that is the issue. The condition of the road is not great, but we cannot require an applicant to upgrade a road that is our maintenance responsibility in consultation with the county attorney's office. So we're just looking to widen the road to some minimum standards so that we can achieve 2-way traffic and that emergency vehicles can ingress and egress the property.
Okay. Questions? Commissioner Baker.
Mr. Haskins, this road that we're talking about is currently the responsibility of the county to maintain.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So we have a request from the applicant. I do want, can anybody here to testify on this? Can you raise your hand, please? Okay. Anybody who's here to testify, because we have one more public hearing after this. Okay. Here's what I'd like to do is, if you would like to, we can take your testimony today and leave the public hearing open. And if you can't come back on the 16th, but if it's okay with the board, I think a continuance is probably would be acceptable to us. But I just, out of respect for people who have come today, if you would like to testify, do you have any objection to that? Yes, sir.
The applicant does not object to that. However, what we would request would be a video, or not a video, but a copy of all of the presentation. No one is here from the applicant's side.
Oh, okay. Absolutely.
Planning on staying, so we'll get some kind of recording and listen to what's said.
Yes. Yeah, no question. And we do record the proceedings, and so we will absolutely make that available so that you have all the testimony, and I'm assuming have all the emails and written testimony.
The video will be online shortly after the public hearing concludes today.
Download that.
I don't know if you can download it, but I can give you my contact information and I can get you a recording of the audio CD.
Thank you.
Okay, and we will, on the 16th, have the applicant present, and anybody else who will keep the public hearing open, so anybody else who did not have an opportunity to testify could testify after hearing from the applicant, as well. Is that okay with you? Okay, great. Thanks very much. So I will open the public hearing, and there are a number of people. If you have, the way this works is there's a red light and a yellow light up here, so you have 3 minutes. And if you state your name and address for the record, one of the things too is if you have pretty much the same comments that the person before you, or if you would like to do it that way, you're more than welcome to say, I feel exactly the same as the person before me, or, that kind of thing. So you're welcome to do that. You're also welcome to come back on the 16th and testify, listen to the applicant, and testify at that point in time too. So whatever works best for your schedules. So I am going to start with Brenda. I'm sorry, sometimes I can't read the names very well. Butner? Yes. And if you just state your name and address for the record, and the yellow light will come on when you have about 30 seconds left, and then the red light will come on and ask you to conclude your comments. So,
thank you
welcome.
For letting us speak today. My name is Brenda Bunner. Address is 4640 South County Road 181, which is approximately a mile from the proposed site. Okay. One of our big concerns is the increased traffic in the area. 181 is not in the best shape. Increased traffic on that will deteriorate it very quickly. So that is a secondary road concern that I think should be addressed. One of our big concerns is lack of notification in the area. I spoke with the fire department last night. They had no knowledge of this. So I gave them what information I had, so they'll be able to review it during this postponement. The sign that was posted on the property is not visible to anyone in the area unless they drive down a dead-end road. I understand that a secondary location was checked into, but that owner declined. The one right across the road will let the sign be posted. Let a sign be posted there. That is on the south side of Quincy at 181. That way, people in the area know what's going on. One of the other people in the area and I have gathered signatures, so I'm here representing over 40 people. And let's see, safety is a major concern. One of the other people here will speak more about the safety because they live much closer. Noise is a concern for all of us, just depending on which way the wind is blowing. I work from home. I have medical issues, which is why I work from home. And oftentimes I need to sleep during the day, which will not be possible. And my neighbor is also a day sleeper since she works nights. So change in our environment will be a major issue. Let's see. And the fact that the proposed site hasn't contacted anyone in the community, none of the businesses, none of the, the fire department. They've also failed to be in contact with like Army Corps of Engineers, Public Health and Environment, Game and Wildlife about permitting. I think that we need, if this is to go forward, we need to make sure that all avenues have been pursued. And one other thing is, I just Googled shooting facilities in the area of this proposed site. There are at least 12 within 40 miles. 10 of them are between Watkins and Byers. There's one basically just like this proposed one that is already on Quincy at Bennett. So don't really see a community need for this when the others are all so close. And thank you for my time.
Thank you very much. Okay, Holly Kay.
Hi, my name is Holly Kay. I live at 4350 South County Road 181, which is the property directly across the street from County Road 30. Probably about half a mile to 2/3 of a mile from this range is my property. I'm very concerned about the sound implications there. I know it will depend on the wind, but there's a lot of west and northwest wind comes that way. I'm concerned for myself. I work nights. I will not be able to sleep. There's been numerous studies about how not only auditory issues, but stress issues, health issues, physiological issues that the sound pollution can cause on people. Also, there's studies on how it can affect animals. I have lots of animals. In fact, I know 1st of September for a week or so with dove hunting season, pronghorn season in October. My guardian livestock dogs are worthless. They're hiding in a hole because of the shooting. If they had to listen to that every day, I would lose quite a few animals. I'm very concerned about that. I'm concerned about the environment. I moved there for the serenity and also for the wildlife in the area. Lead is one of the most toxic poisons to our environment this day. And even though there are, quote, best practices recommended, In the letter of intent from the applicant, he said, when it financially makes sense, he may clean it up. I'm very concerned about that. I believe there should be a comprehensive environmental impact study, not only on the lead poisoning, on the impact on the wild animals, because also there's studies about how the wild animals, they're breeding, and that's a good breeding ground for the pronghorn and deer, and lots of avian species also, how they will be impacted. So I really request, before that area is ruined, that if this goes forward, there should be a very comprehensive environmental impact study. In your Arapahoe Land Development Review, it talks about allowing processes for review. It says it should provide for public peace, health, safety, and welfare. I do not believe this application provides for any of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Larry Keenan.
My name is Larry Keenan. I live at 2722 South County Road 173. First of all, I have two things. Mr. Baker, did you receive a letter by email from Dr. Moak? And I have a copy of that. If you don't have it, I can leave it with the commissioners.
Yeah, Commissioner Baker.
It was in our packet. That was given to all the county commissioners.
Okay. Then you don't need a copy of it. Okay. I'm opposed to this gun club at the proposed site. Where I live borders to the west and to the north of this site. I'm concerned with the noise, the safety, and the economic issues that will impact my life, my family's life, my job. I work on approximately a 500 head cattle ranch. We have horses that we breed. And I want to know who will be responsible if our cows start aborting the calves, which can happen, let alone mares that cost tens of thousands of dollars, and the breeding fees on top of that. If these mares start aborting their foals, these are very expensive horses. I'm concerned with the safety. We take our grandchildren out there on this ranch. We ride out there on this ranch. We check cattle on horses out there, and this is right across the fence from where he has his proposed shooting range. I have to fix the fence out there, just to the west, just to the north of his property. Okay? If he's going to have this gun club open 6 days a week, that means I have 1 day to fix fence that borders his property, if I want to do it when nobody's shooting. I urge all commissioners to consider the impact this would have on your lives if this facility was placed next to your home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Keenan. John James.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm pretty much ditto on all that. I'm the owner of the ranch there at Byers, and I bought this ranch about 8 years ago.
And your address? I'm sorry.
It's 2722 County Road 173 at Byers. And I bought this ranch about 8 years ago, and we have a large breeding operation there on these cattle and horses. And so I have the same concerns as Larry as far as what that's going to impact us. And so I just wanted the commissioners to take a look at this hard. And I do have a letter, too, I'd like to present from the Colorado Agricultural. That property down on the creek bottom is on an easement by the Colorado Cattlemen's Association. And so they have some concerns also.
Oh, yes.
And I can leave that with
Agricultural Trust, Land Trust.
Yes.
Yes, we do have that letter.
And I'm not opposed to a shooting range. I own an outfitting service in Colorado, but we don't sight guns in next to neighbor houses, and we appreciate their respect for their privacy. And I think the noise issue, everybody around the surrounding area is going to be concerned. But I just want to try to get all the aspects considered before we approve this. Thank you.
Chair?
Thank you, sir.
You want me to leave this here?
I just had a clarification question. Thank you. I just was curious, you were talking about the issue with horses and, quote-unquote, aborting their foals. Is this out of personal experience that you've experienced this, or a study that you're citing, or where's...
Well, we have that in the veterinarian. It's all in there.
Veterinarian. Okay.
About how there has been prostate, there has been that before.
Thank you. We were just presented this morning, so I will take time to look through it. Thank you.
I'll just leave this here.
Okay, thank you. Gail, is it Dake? I have an E on the end of my name, and people always... Yes.
We do have Tri-County Health and Colorado Parks and Wildlife here to answer any questions that you may have. You can call upon them.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. State.
My name's Gail Dake, and I live at 60150 East County Road 30. And we are about 4 miles to the west as the crow flies from where they have this proposed club going up. And I do know that the sound carries out there. It would be very disturbing. Also, this is a populated area. You've got family, you've got kids, you've got people all around you. And as Miss Bunner mentioned previous, she found at least 12, well, I found at least 7 other already hunt clubs that are out in that area. And within about 10, 15 miles within Byers, Watkins, Strasburg, and Bennett. And I just can't see the need for another noise factory going up, and when you've got other ones that are already established and in existence. But I'm kind of looking out, we moved out of Aurora to get away from the noise. We went out there for the peace, the quiet, the openness, and the animals. I had a hawk, or not a hawk, I had an eagle in my backyard here about a month ago. And if they're migrating, because they're not that far away, but we have hawks. We have all kinds of animals, and this area they proposed is sort of down in a creek bed. So you've got deer, you've got turkeys and raccoons and foxes and all badgers and all kinds of animals down there that would be impacted by this constant boom, 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 boom stuff. So I am opposed to it, and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ron Hasenblad? I'm sorry if I... Correct me on the pronunciation of your last name.
Hello, it's Hassanbaugh, Ann Hassanbaugh, and we live at 64115 East County Road.
Yes, I see you. Okay.
And I don't want to repeat what's already been said. Our concern is, of course, one of the big concerns would be the noise. We live, as the crow flies, about a mile away. We can see the property from where we are. It's flat. And I don't know if you've ever been out there, but the creek bottom runs to our west and of course the land rises quite a bit there, and sound carries. Dove season, the other person was talking about the hunting seasons out there. It's extremely loud along that creek bottom. You can always tell if somebody's up there shooting and or hunting. So we're extremely concerned about the noise, which is extremely audible beyond premise lines for sure. So our concern is that ruining the peace and quiet of the surrounding area. My husband and I, he's lived there his entire life, so that's like 67 years. I've been there like 40 some years, so I don't know if who's there first matters Ron's family has lived out there for decades also, and we're still on the same land. It is part of the conservation easement, and having a gun range on conservation, or beside a conservation easement on one side, on the other side, Arapahoe County has a land there on the west side, totally goes against the mission statement, especially regarding the wildlife, the corridors of the wildlife. It's an aggravating nuisance kind of a sound that's going to be going on a great deal. Also, one of the things that's a huge issue out there, in addition to the livestock that we have, is just the peace and quiet that they've talked about. I didn't know if we had noise ordinances in Arapahoe County, and there are noise ordinances, but it's concerning either cars or dogs. And so this would be a really, really loud dog that barks all the time for us. We can hear, actually, honestly, we live 7 miles south of Byers, and we can hear the train most of the winter because of the cold air. And I looked it up, and a train horn is between 140 and 152 decibels. I looked up a couple of sites so I could be accurate. Shotgun blast is 150 to 160 decibels. And that's what they're going to be using as shotguns. That's at its peak source. Just to give you an example, high traffic area is a large highway is 70 decibels, and shotguns 150 to 160. Hand grinding metal is 108, and I don't know if this would interest anyone, but I found it interesting. A pig house inside at feeding time is 100 decibels. FYI. A howitzer cannon, 175 decibels. So that's our really, really huge concern. I saw nothing in the proposal to the county that had anything to do with noise mitigation. So our neighborhood, farmland neighbors, we're very concerned with the neighbors, and it's quiet, it's peaceful. You can hear the birds, and so I don't want to repeat that kind of thing, but the noise of the shotgun blast, very aggravating, very destructive to our way of life. And so my question would be, is where's our protection for the noise? Where's our protection? You have it against dogs. We don't typically hear dogs where we're at, but we hear shotguns, and we hear other kinds of guns too in some years. There would actually be no justice if, for instance, this sporting club were allowed to go in on the Culver property. This would be allowing actually for the destruction of the peace and quiet that we've had for decades. And so I appreciate being able to speak, and thank you, and I hope you make the right decision.
Thank you. I'm going to remember the pig decibel level. It's always kind of hard to understand decibel levels, and we get highway noise. That's kind of one of them, but I guess they get pretty noisy at dinner time. Okay, so Lynn Peterson? Oh, you did. And okay, and Evan, you said no, but you do not support this. You are against the application, but do not want to speak. Amanda Trefree? Sorry.
Hi, good morning. My name is Amanda Trefree. I live at 66597 East County Road 34. I live a little over a mile away from the proposed location, and a lot of things that have been said in here I'm in total agreement with. I am against the shooting range, but I'll narrow it down to one of the ranges that are in our area we like to shoot. Colorado Clays up in Brighton, they had a fire, and a little over, maybe say a year and a half ago, wiped out a huge portion of that creek bed. That shooting range borders on residential properties as well, and those properties, one of them almost burnt down because of it. Not sure what the fire was caused by, whether it's cigarette or maybe shooting in general. But I wanted to point out that danger, and also the fact that that's a floodplain, that area, and lead is not usually allowed at ranges near floodplain. And this here said that it was lead shot, And I think that's a huge concern for environmental. I'm surprised that there's not more environmental agencies part of this. And I guess the other concern that I had is that I wasn't notified except for through the scout. And I think a lot of my neighbors don't even know this is going on. It seems a little bit sneaky and deceptive that this is all happening so quickly without a lot of notice. You know, we don't know. The last thing I wanted to say is that what I understand to be true is that the person that would like to do this is not a resident of our area. Normally, we're not very critical of what our neighbors do. You know, we have tolerance for each other. But in this case, it seems like this resident, not resident, he's only interested in purchasing this property for this purpose, not to move out and be part of our community. So I'm really not happy about that either.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Is it Coil Walls? Kale, sorry. Okay.
My name's Cale Walls, and I live at 3601 South County Road 181. And we directly border them. Our fence line, our house sits about 175 yards from their fence. So I just had a few concerns. There's a few environmental concerns that I have. The EPA manual for best management practices for lead and outdoor shooting ranges on page 29 that wooded areas may impede lead reclamation activities, making equipment difficult to maneuver. So this means they can't get down there with their tractors and pick up all the lead. And we live there, and there's down timber everywhere and trees, so they won't be able to get their equipment down there. Even if they get all the down timber out of the way, they can't maneuver their equipment to get it all picked up. They state that only heavy flooding periods have mixed water down there in the creek bottom. This is not true. Even in light rains, it's marshy down there, so all the lead is going to soak into the soil and impact our drinking water. My wife and I personally went around our community and talked to all our neighbors that are affected by the shooting clubs. We only had 12 days after receiving notice to prepare for this hearing and talk to the vast majority of the residents affected. We got 91 people in this amount of time to sign a petition against it. Mr. Whipple had a lot of time to do this, and he never came around to talk to anybody. He didn't talk to us or anybody. Every single person that is bordering this club is against it, every property owner. So I think that's a big deal myself. And if I can I got a map here. Can I show you guys this on this? Sure. I can show you where our house is. So, this orange spot right here, this is our fence line. And our house sits right here. That's 175 yards. So this bottom station down here, that's shooting directly at our house. That's 285 yards away. That's close enough to shoot a bullet through my window. And my baby's right over there. I just don't see how you could endanger a child, or even me fixing a fence. So that's my concern. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Heather, would you like to, Heather Walls? Good morning.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
My name's Heather Wells. I'm located at 3601 South County Road 181. We're directly north of the proposed shooting site. I apologize for my emotions, but just had a baby. She's 10 months old. Our property line is going to be 20 yards from the proposed shooting station 22. And though the projected trajectory of this proposed station is shooting east along our fence line, The typical shooting boxes are open wood-framed boxes with no physical barrier to send a bullet our way. Mr. Whipple also states that lead shots over 7.5 will be prohibited, and they won't be able to guarantee that either. Byers is located a long ways from any sporting goods store, so if somebody makes it all the way out there and realizes they forgot the wrong shot size, they might just use what they have. They aren't going to have an employee out there policing every station, and being on the end of that, they don't know what people are going to be putting in their gun. He states that shots only go 400 feet, and he's allowed 200 extra additional feet for a buffer, but when you just Google gunshot distances, multiple graphs come up showing otherwise. If you refer to my letter that should be in your packet, Washington Hunter's Course, which is recognized in all 50 states and Canada, states that a 7.5 shot can travel 750 feet, which is further than even his buffering zone. And if someone were to happen to bring the wrong lead shot, a size 4, which is very common in shotgun users, a size 2, 0, or 00, they travel over 1,000 feet. That's my bedroom window. If you also look in Brenda's letter to you guys, she also states a different graph from a different webpage that is stating the exact same thing. So multiple sources are saying that these lead shots are going to travel over 400 feet, over 600 feet. And these are just risks that I'm not worth taking, putting my daughter out in the yard. We purchased our property so that she could ride her pony in the backyard and she can play in the creek bottom. My nieces and nephews play in that creek bottom every summer. And these just are risks I'm willing to take, and I don't know if you guys have kids or grandkids, if you're willing to take those. I know many people have already talked about the noise issue, but we are located directly, we can watch them out our bedroom window, stations 13 through 22. My daughter is 10 months old. She requires 12 to 13 hours of sleep. If they're going to be operating this proposed gun site for the majority of the day from 7 a.m. to 7:30, she's not going to be able to get the sleep that she needs, let alone try and take a nap during the day. Shotgun blasts can be rated at 160 decibels, and those will definitely wake a sleeping baby. During dove season, she was woken every morning a little earlier than she was supposed to due to the gunshots around the area. I'm also lucky enough to work from home, and this is going to impede the business that I do. I deal with high-end customers, Sports 30 Field, Brown Palace, Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, and I cannot conduct business at home when there is constant gunfire going off in the back of my property. Noise is something that Mr. Whipple has not affected, but it directly affects the quality of my life and the quality of my family and the quality of my neighbors. I ask that you please deny the approval of Silver Creek Sporting Club, not because I oppose guns or I oppose shooting ranges, but because the location is very poor. Our residents and family have been here a long time before the pending sale of the neighboring land and the idea of a sporting club. He surely can find a more perfect place, a more perfect property instead of disrupting the current residents who currently live there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walls. Okay, Jerry Walls.
Hi.
Welcome.
Jerry
Yes.
Walls. I live at 43043 Bridge Road, which is probably 8 miles to the south. But I own 2 lots, a 35 and a 38 acre lot that's right in front of Heather and Kale's. So it's adjacent to the gun range. One lot is right next to it, and the other one's 300 feet to the north. And along with everybody else's concerns, I'm concerned about the property values, the home values of everybody that's there. I mean, we bought the lots for an investment and built some spec homes on, and they're going to evaluate. They'll be worth less than what we paid for them, along with the kids' house. So that's my major concern, that and the safety of it.
Thank you. I have Lindsay Walls, who does not want to speak but is opposed also. Teresa Cavender.
Brenda Bunner would like me to hand these to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Teresa Cavender. I'm at 5951 South County Road 181. I'm about 1 mile south as the crow flies, because that's how we talk out there in eastern Colorado, south of this proposed site. When my neighbors approached us about this coming, of course, we had no idea that this was in the works. This notice of change is on a dead-end road that only the mail person was able to see. And through Facebook, we were notified that way. And we all feel that that was a very sneaky, non-neighborly way of doing business in our area. When I was told about it, my heart dropped, because I personally grew up right next to Gun Club Sporting Range in eastern Aurora. My parents have lived there since 1978, and the noise from that gun range impacted our lives every single day. Every one of our quote-unquote VHS home movies, you can hear gunshots in the back of our home movies when we try to watch them. So that's my concern, is, again, like everyone else, is the noise that's going to affect every single one of us that live out there. Also, too, we were so happy to see the open space come to Arapahoe County just in the same creek, and now that whole peaceful environment is going to be ruined by this gun range. So thank you for hearing us out. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And I have Tim Hassenbach, but did not want to speak, but also, right, okay. And I'm not going to, is there anyone else who's here who did not sign up who would like to speak? And I'm not going to close the public hearing. I also want to assure you that if you have neighbors that have not, they could come on the 16th. So watch the calendar and make sure, that that's ultimately the date, just to be sure, because I know it's a long way. And the other thing is, if someone can't be here, we do get all emails and letters. So that's another avenue to reach us as well. So I don't know if anyone has from Division of Wildlife has questions for Division of Wildlife or for Tri-County before.
Just wondering.
Jackson.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just wondering if, assuming we do a motion to continue and so on, that those folks could come back, because we'll hear a more full hearing from the applicant, and as questions arise, we would be able to ask Tri-County and the wildlife folks. So I would respectfully hold my questions until the full hearing next year.
Next year. Wow. Okay. So let's, I think, Ms. Orphill Larson, I think we have a question back here, but yeah.
I was just wondering if, sorry folks, if I have additional documentation about studies and all at that time, if I would be able to speak again, or I just present you with that information.
You can present that. Be happy to take all that information, and as early as it can get into us, that'd be great, so we have an opportunity to read it before January 16th, and then we could have questions of the applicant or Tri-County Health or others that would appear here at the time. So, yeah, I'll take one more question here, but.
Okay, so you extend this to January 16th. When do you guys make a decision? Is it on that day?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
We normally make a decision on the day that unless there were questions, the question is, would we make a decision? We normally make a decision the day of the public hearing. There have been some circumstances where the applicant might ask for continuance like this, and or we could ask for a continuance for additional information. So, but in a normal case, we would make the decision on that day. That's what happens most of the time. So, okay, Commissioner Baker.
I want to thank the Colorado Division of Wildlife and Tri-County Health for being here to answer any questions. And it sounds like we'll wait until January 16th. But I'll go ahead, if there's no other discussion, and make a motion to continue in the case of U17-004, Silver Creek Sporting Club, use by special review. I move to continue the decision on this request to January 16th, 2018, date certain at 9:30 a.m. at the same location at the request of the applicant.
I second that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Baker, seconded by Commissioner Holan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. And thank you all for being here. And again, send us whatever additional information you'd like to do for us to have. Okay. Let's see, we have one more. Where is it here? We have one more public hearing this morning. It's V16-003 Mountain View Gardens vacation of right-of-way and drainage easement. And our presenter is Mr. Bill Skinner, Public Works and Development. And our attorney is Mr. Robert Hill, Senior Assistant County Attorney. Mr. Hill, would you set the foundation, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This request for vacation of drainage easements and right-of-way has been noticed in accordance with our Land Development Code and all the requirements by posting, mail, and publication, I believe, or not publication. There's publication. So the board has jurisdiction to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Mr. Skinner.
I'd like to thank Mr. Arthur Raines for patiently waiting. I think he's going to be the last one left in the room. So, Bill Skinner for the Planning Division. This one is simple and easy. In the 4 square mile area up in the Mountain View Gardens neighborhood on South Uinta Way, there are currently 3 properties, 1781, 1783, and 1793 South Uinta Way. Those properties were subdivided, platted, and then PUD rezoned in, I think, about 2002 to create this 3-lot plan that I've put on the camera in front of you with that cul-de-sac to get access to those 3 lots. There is a new owner. He is replatting the property that is under the way right now. It's going to remove those 3 lot lines. It's going to remove that cul-de-sac. It'll be one single residential property. The intent is to put a single-family home on it. This right-of-way and a handful of drainage easements, as expressed in the staff report, were dedicated to the county about 12 years ago, and they're in the way for the current owner's home. The road's never been constructed. Looks to me like we're going through a formality to remove something that was dedicated to the county through a public process. We need to use a public process to give it back. They'd like to have this right away and these easements vacated. Staff supports it.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Raines, would you like to come on up? And if there are any, we'll see if there are any questions. I think that explains everything pretty well, but do you have anything you'd like to add?
Not really. Arthur Raines, 6380 South Netherland Circle, Centennial 80016. As the applicant for the owner of the property, this is the last step in terms of the vacation of the easement so we can have a clean slate, if you will, and make our plat, which has already been prepared, and just this is the last step before recordation. And then I'll do the process of the building and submitting for a building permit.
Okay. questions for Mr. Raines? Okay. Seeing none, thank you very much. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this issue? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you. I have read this staff report and have not received any comments from the First Mile group. In the case of V16003, Mountain View Gardens number 10, vacation of right-of-way and easements, I have reviewed the staff report, including all exhibits and attachments, and have listened to the applicant's presentation and any public comment as presented at the hearing, and hereby move to approve this application based on the findings in the staff report, subject to the following condition. 1, prior to the signature of the final copy of these plans, the applicant must address public works staff comments and concerns as identified in their reports.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Holan. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Are there any Commissioner comments?
I did want to say maybe a little bit earlier would have been better, but on the budget, I want to thank our Citizens Budget Committee for the time that they spent very diligently this year looking at the budget process and interviewing certain directors in the county. And each one of us appoint citizens to those, and I think it's a very important part of the budget process that we ensure upon, that we ask them to do things for us, and I just want to say thank you for their hard work this year.
Thank you. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, so tonight is the first night of Hanukkah, and in that spirit, I'd like to wish everybody happy holidays, whichever ones they celebrate. It's a time for us to think about the good things that we've done this year and look forward to more good things next year. And I want to wish everybody a safe, happy, and healthy New Year.
Yes, because this will be our last meeting until January, and we will express to all of our staff and everyone how much we appreciate the work that they do as part of this county all year, and look forward to, I'm sure it'll be, a very busy 2018. So we look for it, always is, even though when you think, and with the legislature coming in, I'm sure we'll be paying a lot of attention to what's going on at the state level as well. So, yes, just wish our very best for a happy holiday season for everyone. So, Commissioner Holan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I certainly echo the words of both Commissioner Sharp and Commissioner Jackson. I think that this is a time for us to really be reflective of what's happened last year and look forward to the blessings that come next year. And I think very importantly is we have to remember during these times how important our families are and draw them near to us so that we can share in that joy and express our support for our community and other elected officials that will be who were elected this last cycle, and make sure that they have the support and help that they need to make Arapahoe County and the various cities and municipalities in the county much more provide a much more wonderful environment in which we all seek in terms of finding good governance in the process. So thank you.
Thank you. And so meeting is adjourned, and we'll see you in January. Thanks, everyone.